Someone was like, I barely recognise George without the glasses. Did you see that?
What, on Instagram?
Somewhere. I was like, barely recognised him. I'm like, well, okay, it's not like that.
That's why I started taking them off.
It's like there are 7 different hosts that cycle on the show.
It's not like it's not like Clark Kent, is it? Like,
yeah.
I just, who are you?
Yeah.
Well, hello and welcome to the first episode of the year.
Yes, 2023.
Happy New Year to everyone. Full disclosure, we are recording this prior to 2023, as you can imagine, with schedules and timings.
Yeah.
But we're still going to have a lovely show, and I hope you had a great Christmas.
Today is actually the day that is the shortest day of the year.
Yes.
Thank God.
That's over.
It was sort of like 3:20, and I go, is it dark already? Now it's only going to get brighter. I mean, we've still got a good 8 weeks of darkness.
Every time I complain about the darkness, though, that I'll always have someone who's lived or does live in a Scandinavian country being like, you have no idea.
Yeah,
okay? Yeah. You have no idea. The summers, crazy. The winters, also crazy.
I've done Iceland in November when it's pitch black by 4:30. It's kind of interesting.
Well, a guy recently was telling me about how his sister lives in Finland and
sirens are on our end if you're driving. Apologies.
Yes, they don't usually come through, but they are there. James lives in the absolute den of vice in London. So his sister lives in Helsinki, I believe, and he said that he went out there for Midsummer, which I hope I'm getting that right, because Midsummer I traditionally think of as a Swedish thing, and I believe it was this guy who told me this story, and I'm really sorry if I've conflated 2 different Scandinavian countries. I'm sorry, but anyway, he said that he went out there for Midsummer once, and you know how. I think there's almost like a scientific thing that, you know, like dogs and animals, and sometimes people can get very strange at dusk.
Yeah.
Imagine it being dusk for like 4 or 5 hours with loads of booze and merriment. That's like crazy.
Weird vibes.
Anyway.
It's an Ari Aster film.
More of that later, actually. But I just wanted to begin because the episode before the episode that was the last episode. So before we did the PULP KITCHEN Awards, we did the review of Avatar, the way of the water. The way of the water.
You got
I'm an idiot.
You got that.
And obviously now people probably had a lot more time to go and see it and have their thoughts, etc.
Yeah.
But I was talking to a colleague the other day about they went to see it, and they told me about their experience.
Yeah, okay.
First of all, they were like, "Oh, don't bother going to see it," and I was like, "Yeah, no, I know. My James has told me about it," and they were like, "It's too long, too boring, etc."
Yeah.
They went to see it at the Odeon in, I don't know, Hammersmith, somewhere really like
multiplex
generic.
vibes.
Yeah. And she said she went to see it and packed cinema. Yeah. And the vibe was so dead. And the screening began and it had subtitles, right?
Okay.
Just the whole screening had subtitles. And she was like, well,
were they
fine.
in papyrus?
No, they were just like regular English subtitles. And she was like, okay, whatever, I don't mind subtitles. And actually, you know what? As a side point here, sometimes if I'm really struggling with the film...
Me too.
Or struggling, I just put provided it's not a comedy where it ruins the joke.
Yes, no, I agree.
But if you put the subtitles on, honestly, if you're struggling to follow a film with concentration, it helps.
With my parents, they're so much more engaged with the film.
Oh,
I don't get it, what's going on.
Yeah.
No, they get it.
And actually, you actually learn to appreciate the script so much more. Honestly, it is a tip to budding screenwriters to watch films with the subtitles on so you can see the dialogue. Anyway, so that they're watching it, and about 8 minutes in, the film just stops.
Whoa.
And just like the lights come up, and everyone's like, what? And then this woman comes walking back in from the audience. She says, yeah, you'll thank me later. Couldn't watch it with subtitles. Ridiculous.
What?
So this woman has gone outside, complained about the subtitles.
Whoa.
The cinema then stops the film for 10 minutes. Everyone's just sat there. They then put the film back on, wind forward to where they were, and they couldn't even get rid of the subtitles. So you've had this real sort of like stop-start beginning. I thought it was ridiculous.
I've never heard of that. Also, aren't subtitle screenings there for a reason? It's not just like some projectionist pressed the button by accident.
Also, like it's not like it was dubbed. You can work with subtitles. And it's one thing to go out and say, I'm sorry, I really struggle with subtitles. I didn't pay for the screening. Could you give me my money back and I'll book for another screening? That's one thing. But to like ransack
speak for everyone in the audience as well.
And then also she said it was so boring that she saw, my friend saw it at during the World Cup final, which by the way, so much more thrilling. Oh my God, did you watch it?
Incredible.
Fantastic.
Incredible, yeah.
So I imagine listening to this in January
This is really
2023.
outdated.
Very
this
outdated
happened this week. Yeah.
But anyway, But she says some dad was just in the row in front watching the film.
I do not blame
and
him.
it did not bother my friend because the film was so boring. She was like, I totally respect that this guy is wanting to watch the World Cup final.
People have asked me, oh, like, have you seen it? I'm like, yeah, and like, should I? And I'm like, no. And I told them it's really, really boring. And people are like, really? And I'm like, yeah.
Of course, we're not. I would never actively tell someone to not go to like restrict their freedom of choice.
No, I'm saying like I can't. Of course they can go. I'm like I wouldn't personally recommend it to you. Given how long it is, I would say don't bother. But they were like they can't believe that it's boring. They would expect it to be criticised for a lot of things that we criticise Avatar 1 for. Yeah. I think the surprise is that it's that boring.
Yeah. So how's it done, like box office wise?
Interesting, you say. Just wanted to pick up.
We're saying this now. I mean, by the time people listen to this, it could have taken.
That's true. We're recording the week of Christmas, so. But it's still interesting considering
how it's opening.
But this is how Avatar has been doing. Obviously, we all know that there was something going around but saying that it needed to make $2 billion globally, $1 billion to even break even. But as of the week it came out, Avatar: The Way of Water has opened to $134 million domestically and $435 million globally. Those are big numbers, just for perspective. So, as reported by Variety, Avatar: The Way of Water secured the third biggest global opening weekend during the COVID-19 pandemic, which I'm not sure we're still counting it as COVID-19 pandemic, but anyway. And now sits behind only...
I can explain why they thought that.
Go on.
Because I also saw an article, I think on Variety, that said that actually what has slightly impinged the box office success of Way of the Water is there have been COVID outbreaks in China.
Oh, fine.
And successive COVID lockdowns. So that is tempering people's enthusiasm to go and watch this film. So that's why they probably still frame it in the pandemic.
That makes sense. And now it sits behind only Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness at 442 million and Spider-Man No Way Home's 600 million. God, that film did
Doctor Strange made a load of money.
Doctor Strange made a load of money. I don't know if it's going to... So the thing about Avatar is typically it sustains making money for a very long period of time. Domestically, Avatar: Way of the Water, tied with The Batman, is the fifth biggest opening of 2022. Cameron's movies, including Avatar, tend to start a bit slower, as I said, and continue to build up over the following weeks. 09's Avatar opened to only 77 million domestically before continuing on to earn 760 million in North America and 2.92 billion globally to become the highest grossing movie of all time. It also held the #1 spot for a very long time. The sequel, which earned 301 million internationally, will have a tough time reaching new heights of the original film. However, especially considering it won't be playing in Russia, where the original film grossed 116 million. China is also a huge market. There was a big play in the original success, but the sequel fell below expectations there, and its opening brought in only by 57.1, which explains...
Probably explained, but the COVID thing.
The COVID effect. 62% of all those who bought tickets to Avatar 2 went to see the movie in premium formats like IMAX, and globally, the film made 48.8 million in IMAX alone. 62% is big, considering there aren't that many IMAX screens. There's enough to make it IMAX's second biggest weekend ever and the biggest for a movie opening in December.
Wow.
So look, there are more numbers you can throw out, but just to comment and put a full stop on the Avatar: The Way of Water conversation until we're blessed with Avatar 3 in 2 years, that it has done very well. I think, Russia and China, global political problems aside, it's probably going to do similar numbers. I reckon probably not the same, like all in all, but you're looking at a top 5 of all time, I think.
It's got 13 years to beat. Avatar, went to... I mean, I suppose it took 2 years and then went back.
Re-release.
So it's clearly been a success, and how far it goes, time will tell. I think that's enough for Avatar, I do think. We've had a lot of chat about it recently.
It's been a lot.
Let's stop looking back at the films of 2022, James, and let's look forward to the year ahead.
Let's do it.
So James, everyone, it's 2023. We have a whole new year of films ahead of us to watch. And it's an exciting time. That's an exciting thing to begin a new year and think, right, what have we got to tuck into? I have pulled a list of films that are being touted as the most anticipated films of this year. And it's based on two articles I've drawn from. One is by Cooper Hood from Screen Rant, and the second is from Tim Lowry and the Rotten Tomatoes staff at Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
Pulled that together, got a list of interesting films coming through, and I thought we could just run through them and see what's on the menu for this year.
How exciting.
Here we go. So first of all, I'm going to begin with some more director, talent-focused, independent kind of style pictures.
Yeah, because we've done Marvel stuff.
We've done big ones. I've got some few big ones at the end, but
please go back to our old episodes where we did phases 5 and 6 for all of that.
And Disney's D23 slate and stuff. Okay, so to begin with, Ari Aster has a new film out next year called Beau is Afraid. It's Ari Aster, director of Hereditary and Midsommar, which we just referenced.
Yeah.
Hereditary, I think we both agree, was really, really quite interesting, powerful, and
disturbing.
Very, very disturbing. Midsommar,
still disturbing.
Yes,
burnt
disturbing
into my
imagery.
retinas, but it lost us.
Yes, I think it became really, really, really silly, and it became more like, dude, where's my ritual?
Can't watch that again.
No, I don't want to. I mean, I don't want to watch Hereditary again, but I could and get more out of it. But I'm not interested in watching Midsommar again.
Yeah.
Great performance by Florence Pugh, though, and obviously Will Poulter and Jack Rayner and all that.
Yes.
But Beau is Afraid is the thrilling combination, it says here, of Ari Aster and Joaquin Phoenix. Previously known as Disappointment Boulevard, the new movie blends horror and comedy, apparently. A nightmare comedy that spans decades in the life of a successful entrepreneur.
Nightmare comedy.
Look, Joaquin Phoenix, you have me sold.
Great.
Ari Aster, you have me sold. Together, fantastic. You know, we can already see what he does for actors, whether it's Toni Collette or whether it's Florence Pugh. So, Beau is Afraid. No exact release date yet, but it's planning for a 2023 release. The poster's been released recently, so hopefully we'll have something that, I don't know, that could come out as late as Halloween next year. It could be earlier in the year, but I'm happy to watch that.
Give me more of the splattering of your disturbed mind on celluloid, and I will consume it and cry. And
for all my misgivings from Midsommar, I'm still going to go see that. So that's called Beau is Afraid. Next up, Matthew Vaughn has a new movie. Now, Matthew Vaughn is very hit and miss, I think.
Yeah.
You know, Kick-Ass was fine, and then that's definitely one of those films that when you go back and rewatch, you go, oh, Jesus.
I think he's done the best X-Men movie.
X-Men First Class, yes. I remember you saying you like that.
Yeah.
I've seen the first Kingsman, which I thought was fine.
Yeah.
I've heard the second Kingsman is awful.
Tonally off for me.
And then did you watch The Kingsman with Reese Fans? No, I didn't. But like that's one of those classic films that came out at the beginning of 2022.
Yeah.
Just sort of slipped
It really sort of slipped by.
But he's coming back with a film called Argylle, and I mention it because it's Henry Cavill headlining it. And of course...
he did Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Yes,
him.
with Guy Ritchie.
Because
I know I fall into the same trap of conflating Guy Ritchie and Matthew Vaughn.
It's a Guy Ritchie film?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
I didn't mind The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
I haven't seen it.
All right, it's fine. It's stylish. So Henry Cavill headlines a new spy movie for director Matthew Vaughn in Argylle. It's based on an unreleased novel and, returns both Matthew Vaughn and Henry Cavill to the spy genre. It also stars Bryce Dallas Howard, Bryan Cranston, Samuel L. Jackson, John Cena, Sam Rockwell, and Dua Lipa.
Okay.
International pop
Dipping her toe in
sensation.
the acting world.
Argylle.
She acted before? Was that first?
I think it's a first.
Wow, okay.
Yes. Argylle does not have an official 2023 release date, but it's being made through Apple TV+. But it could be a new franchise.
Interesting, okay. They're popping up more and more. It's more and more projects
That's
which
it.
are Apple, yeah.
Next up is a film called Renfield. Have you heard of this one?
I think so, go on.
So Nicholas Holt's in this one. So Universal is returning to the realm of Universal Monsters in 2020 with
They're
Renfield.
returning to that?
A film following Dracula's henchman. So Nicholas Hoult stars as Renfield while Nicolas Cage plays Dracula. Now,
Perfect
having
casting.
seen the pictures of Nicolas Cage as Dracula and knowing that the director is the Lego Batman movie director, Chris McKay, I think this is actually going to be quite a fun, playful, exciting, joyful experience that isn't just dour and, Universal
Gothic.
Monsters. Yeah, I think they're going to really ham it up and really have fun with this.
Okay.
So it's got Ben Schwartz in it as well and Awkwafina. The movie follows Renfield as he tries to quit working for Dracula to pursue love and the horror comedy. There you go, horror comedy. Could be a surprise hit.
That's what I was wondering. I was like, there's a lot of different things, like what genres we could go to.
I love
here,
things like the Lego movies and the Lego Batman movies. There's got a lot of playful inventiveness in it, and I'm always game for Nick Cage. Love Nick. I like Nicholas Hoult actually,
and I'm really enjoying putting horror and comedy together. I feel like it usually is like always a really good mix.
Yeah, of course.
So more, please.
That's coming out in April. Looking forward to that.
Nice.
So.
You're doing chronological order, I assume.
Sort of,
yeah.
Sort of. I'm doing the order of the list wrote it in.
Sure, yeah, great.
The next one. Now I'm interested in this one. Next one's called Maestro, and this is Bradley Cooper's next directorial film, follow up to Star Is Born. Yeah. So this is him playing Leonard Bernstein, famous, world famous composer.
Yeah.
from America. It's about his romance with Felicia Monteligre, played by Carey Mulligan. Maestro was initially developed as a film by Spielberg, but he passed on the movie and gave it to Cooper. Also, supporting cast also includes Maya Hawke from Stranger Things. Again, no exact release date, but it's meant to be coming out. I've seen a picture of Bradley Cooper made up to look like Leonard Bernstein, and he's unrecognizable. But I he's an older, sort of craggly face.
Spielberg must get films sent to him like a Tinder feed of just left, right. Do I put
and he
my
starts
name
he starts
on
to
it?
a little bit, and he goes, no.
Was this one I'm going to really do? Put it in like my star list. This one I'm going to sort of associate with that. No.
Where do you stand on A Star Is Born?
I liked it. I didn't love it. I thought Lady Gaga was really great in it. I thought chemistry between Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga was really good. Some people came out like, oh my God, Star is Born, best picture, you've got to see it. And it just, I saw it and I never thought about it again.
Yeah, I agree. I thought Lady Gaga was fantastic. Some great songs in it.
Bradley Cooper's really good as well.
Yeah, and Bradley Cooper perfectly competently put together, but I think that it was just missing a certain something. What I thought was interesting is that there was a lot of very interesting subplots and subtext that actually was missing from the film. But I remember an interview that Bradley Cooper gave with like Kermit and Mayo. And in the interview, very casually, he explained the relationship between Bradley Cooper's character and his brother, his older brother, played by Sam Elliott. You know,
right?
And he explained this whole backstory about how they were in a band together, and he explained it as if that's already in the film. And then you watch the film, and that is really, really not in there. You really have to have known that going in, because I remember I saw it with my girlfriend. Then afterwards, I was like, because they were in a band together, and she was like, that was completely lost on it. Exactly. Yeah. So. But that was his first film, so looking forward to seeing Maestro. And I definitely, having seen A Star Is Born, thought, Bradley Cooper, I'd like to see more of that.
Bradley Cooper's developed incredibly into this, not only like leading Hollywood man, but like director, visionary, singer, real sort of like tour de force.
Okay, next up is Martin Scorsese's film Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah,
we mentioned this briefly when we were talking about the Oscars for this year.
It's probably not going to,
but it's not. It's actually going to be the Oscars next year, I think. This is not for Netflix. It's for Apple TV Plus, because obviously the Irishman for Netflix. Yeah, he switched teams. So it stars Jesse Plemons, Robert De Niro, Leonardo DiCaprio, John Lithgow, Brendan Fraser. A smoking hot cast.
Yes.
The movie adaptation of David Ground's novel that follows a murder investigation in the 1920s, and it's been in development since 2017. I think that's going to be a big Oscar contender next year.
Huge.
So we probably won't be seeing that until December 2023.
Leo Scorsese, yes. Jesse Plemons, hell yeah.
Just
all of it.
There's also, this is the first time today doing this research that I noticed this, but apparently Scorsese has another film on his slate with Leo, which is Roosevelt. About, the Great Depression. What's the word? FDR, not Teddy Roosevelt, but FDR. That has it's got a release date, but there's nothing else been heard about it. And I would be surprised if they've been.
Has it been shot?
Well, I don't know. That's the thing. Has Scorsese? There's been the last news I could see about it was it being announced in like 2017.
Check on IMDb if it's in production. Oh,
it's just got Scorsese and Leo attached to it, nothing else.
So it's in pre-production.
I don't think this is coming out, but interesting that's maybe in the works.
I'll take it. They really are Scorsese, Leo, just doing.
So we've had Scorsese, we've got Bradley Cooper coming back, we've got horror comedies, and then another great return of another great director is The Killer, which is David Fincher's new film. Now, as I have said, I would prefer David Fincher to go back and finish Mindhunter, which is a fantastic series, but he seems intent after not doing that. So his last film was Mank, which came out on Netflix, and this is a film called The Killer, which is a assassin movie. Sees him re-team with the writer of Seven, Andrew Kevin Walker, and it stars the guy we've been missing for a long time, Michael Fassbender.
He took
back
years
in the saddle,
off, right? I think he had kids.
Yes, he had
with
time.
Alicia Vikander, which is totally fair.
Totally
that's
fair.
nothing.
He's allowed to live a life.
What a great talented actor, good in everything that I've missed out on.
The Killer is based on a French graphic novel by Alexis Noland about an assassin who begins to develop a conscience, resulting in a psychological breakdown as his skills continue to be demanded.
Was the last Fassbender film Dark Phoenix?
Yes, which I feel like was just like such a contractual obligation.
Really was.
Sleepwalked into that. The movie also stars Tilda Swinton, and considering how...
Nice.
Yeah, so the movie also stars Tilda Swinton, and I think... Look, we know Fincher does crime, we know Fincher does like...
Cold,
can do
sterile.
Mean. He's a great director.
Yeah.
And any new David Fincher film is something to be excited about, so that's great.
Yeah.
Moving on, early in 2023, we have Magic Mike's Last Dance. Right?
Magic Mike.
Yeah, Magic Mike. What do you think I said?
He said Magic Mike.
No, Magic Mike.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I see. I put
Yeah,
it together. Magic Mike's Last Dance. I mentioned this only because Steven Soderbergh is directing it again, and it's got Channing Tatum and Salma Hayek.
Did Soderbergh do 2?
I don't know if he did XXL, as it was called, Magic Mike XXL in 2015. Look, I didn't see XXL. I saw the first Magic Mike, which I thought was fine,
Better than you could have thought it would be.
Do you know what was the strange thing about that film was? It changed protagonists like 3 times.
Yeah.
It started off as Alex Pettyfer's film, then it became the girlfriend's film, and then it became Magic
And
Mike's
you'd never
film.
think from the marketing it would be Alex Pettyfer's film. You're watching it, it's like, oh, you really spend time with Alex Pettyfer and this whole underworld. And as you know, it just completely switches.
So that's coming out.
Currently in London, that has spawned a very successful
Live show,
live theatre show, which is not a drama. It is exactly what Magic Mike
basically
is from
Chippendales,
that.
yeah.
And the marketing is all over the tube in London.
Yeah.
Constantly, I'm seeing rippling abs, Magic Mike live, XXL. I'm like, fair play. And it says Channing Tatum presents. That must be a screen which comes up. There's no way Channing Tatum.
But
is
that
around.
means like, every dollar that you put, every pound coin you throw at a stripper goes to Channing Tatum.
15p goes to Channing.
Okay, then we've got another threequel, Creed 3.
Sure, I'm into
Which
Creed
I
3.
think this looks great. This is actually directed by Michael B. Jordan this time.
Yeah.
Look, I quite liked Creed.
Yes,
I didn't see Creed 2.
not as good.
And then now we've got Creed 3. Creed 1, obviously, Creed was originally directed by Ryan Coogler, who went on to do Black Panther. Look, I like Michael B. Jordan. I think he's a talent.
Yeah.
And now he's moved behind the camera. Great, good for him. Obviously, sees Michael B. Jordan, Tessa Thompson. I don't know, because I didn't see Creed 2. Is Rocky in this one still?
No, so Rocky was in Creed 2, but he has. I think there's been a fallout over the scripts, and he's not in Creed 3. I don't want to speak on this because he's basically like made comments, and I've not properly read up on it. But there was like a reason he's not in it, and I think it's based on like story decisions. I can't be asked to get it up, but I've only seen passing comments.
It also features as the nemesis, man of the moment, Jonathan Majors, looking
so hot right now,
stacked like a brick shit house.
Oh yeah.
That's
I think
coming out. I think
Creed as a character is a little bit one-dimensional. I feel like there's one, agenda for that character, and it's to prove that they're as good as thing. And I feel like it doesn't sustain. I feel like I need another
3 films.
Yeah.
Well, then this looks interesting because the whole thing is that, from what the trailer sells it, it's like he's reached his success, he's achieved his goals.
Yeah.
And then
that was 2.
His best friend comes out of prison, and it's very much like the path he could have taken if he hadn't been successful. And there's a sort of like this resentment between them, but they're friends, but they're enemies, but they're brothers.
Yeah.
So
great soundtracks on all of them. If you're ever working out, whack on a Creed soundtrack, get you pumped.
okay, cool. Next up, 65. Now this
Adam
could go
Driver.
either
Yeah.
Adam Driver in another
Trailer came out a couple of weeks ago.
Big, Adam Driver can be in any film, and it's always interesting. But it's interesting to see him return to another big budget franchise movie, because he could do prestigious Oscar picks for the
In a
rest of his
film
life.
which looks like the plot of After Earth with Will and Jaden Smith.
Yes, so this is called 65 because it is set 65 million years ago, but you wouldn't think that from the trailer, because Adam Driver is flying a spaceship which hits a load of asteroids and crashes on a mysterious planet, and has one sole survivor, and it's a child. He's got to look after them. What's on this planet? Well, would you actually believe it's 65 million years ago, prehistoric Earth, and it's spaceman versus dinosaurs, basically.
Yeah.
It's from the writers of A Quiet Place. And look, the thing is, I'm all for a silly premise well executed. So I reserve my judgment, and I really like Adam Driver.
I believe that Adam Driver also chooses his films quite carefully.
Yes.
So I hope there's more to this than an After Earth.
or he needed a new house to be paid for, something like that.
Some distant cousin is
But
asked.
After Earth, that I never saw, but that looked.
I think I watched
abysmal.
the first 10 minutes on Sky years ago and then couldn't continue. Yeah.
Sorry, I love you. After Earth, still can't wait to see it.
Jaden?
Next up one I think we're both very excited for is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the sequel to Into the Spider-Verse from 2018. I love that film. Oscar-winning film. Best animation that year.
Just broke your heart. I've falling immediately
stunning.
in love with characters.
Yeah.
Visually unique. Never really
Brilliant.
seen anything like it. Fantastic.
Look, I mean, what else to say? It's what you expect. It's more
Also great soundtrack. Sorry.
Also great soundtrack. It's more of Miles Morales. It's more of that animation style.
Yep.
It's going to feature Gwen Stacy, played by Haley Steinfeld again. Also Oscar Isaac's Miguel O'Hara, a.k.a. Spider-Man 2099.
Yeah.
There's also Spider-Woman in there, and it's probably likely that Jake Johnson's Peter Parker will also be back as well.
And 50 other Spider-Man variants.
Exactly, and that's what I just want: color, frenetic energy, fun soundtrack, funny jokes, but also a good bit of heart. That's what the film had.
I think it's cool to have a film which, I know they could do this live action, but it's the kind of thing that you could only do animated or do really well and stylistically. I think, you know, they could do all this like dimension warping, but I don't think I want to see that with live action. I like that they've gone, we're animating this. We can go as stylish and comic booky and as wacky as we can. Yeah. That's the creative liberation of like digitally drawing something. Yeah. I think that's cool.
I love it. I can't wait to see it. Okay. Next up, so just a couple more. I don't know how to feel about this one. So, do you know David Gordon Green much as a director?
Yeah, what's he done again? Name's familiar.
Well, so David Gordon Green has had quite an interesting career. He started off with making like a low-budget indie films like George Washington, and then went on and made things like Prince Avalanche, which is quite a good film. But then he's also done kind of mainstream comedies. He made Pineapple Express.
That's where I know him from.
And the past, I mean, he's clearly a talented director, and like I really liked Prince Avalanche. And you know, he also does some acting. He is in Bones and All. He is the guy who's with Michael Stuhlbarg.
Oh, right. Yes.
So a perfectly competent guy. And however, he has spent the past few years making the Halloween reboot trilogy, right?
Right.
You know, Halloween, which was actually Halloween 2, but was actually called Halloween. And then there was Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends.
Yeah.
I have some friends who saw all of those at the cinema.
Yeah.
And they said Halloween, which was Halloween 2, but wasn't Halloween 2, was fine.
Yeah.
Halloween Kills, silly nonsense, but they had a great time at the cinema. And I've heard Halloween Ends was absolutely diabolically bad.
Really?
So David Gordon Green now returns, and he's doing the same thing now with another horror franchise, and that's The Exorcist, which we talked about last year. Do you remember we did a whole episode about it?
You can watch our reacting to The Exorcist episode from a while ago now.
Basically, we watched it for the first time and kind of gave our impressions. But basically, a bit like how we did with Halloween, it's going to be a direct sequel to the 1973 original, which would be, it's 50 years old this year. And it's going to follow up to that. It's going to have Ellen Burstyn return. She played the mother in the original. No mention of Linda Blair. We'll see. I'll see. Because, I mean, I liked The Exorcist. I don't think it needs a 50-year belated, retcon, redid
and I assume it will be 50 years later. And
I guess, but it stars Leslie Odom Jr., Ellen Burstyn, as I mentioned, and Ann Dowd. Now, Ann Dowd is a great actress. She's in Hereditary. She's the one who's at the meeting and goes, "Oh, you know, I must talk to you about your mother." Fantastic. So, interesting. We're getting an Exorcist new franchise.
I'm surprised they want to touch it, but then I'm also not surprised given the cycling of IP that they are going to go back to it. But it's all going to be in the tone of that first look of how I feel about it when it comes to what they're doing, how they're making it look. Just going there is just making me go, maybe you shouldn't.
I think it's that they, if you look at films over the past in the 50 years since The Exorcist, you've had loads of films that basically trying to capitalize on the legacy of The Exorcist. In the same way that The Godfather spawned all like the mob genre, you know, whether it's Pray for the Devil or The Last Exorcism of Emily Rose, every couple of years, you'll get a naff Exorcist light film. Yeah. And it's now like they've gone, you know what? Why don't we just like do The Exorcist?
Why do we actually do it?
Why don't we just do it again? But like
Part
follow
2?
Up. What I haven't seen Halloween Kills. What I will say is there is some interesting. They do some like very well-detailed recreation of the 1970s that seamlessly blend with the clips of the original.
Oh, that's cool.
Then, so they actually, like Donald Pleasance's character, I know, who plays the Dr. Loomis in Halloween, they actually recreated him really interestingly with some prosthetics on one of their sound guys. So actually, it's almost like an uncanny overlap. So the scar tissue between the film 50 years ago and now hopefully won't be too prominent. But anyway, that's happening. Okay.
I watched the first reboot of the Halloween, so what would be Halloween 2?
Halloween 2018, And exactly. James, did you know we're getting a new Hunger Games film next year?
Pass on this for me.
Yeah, a hard pass. This is going to be, so it's directed by the franchise veteran Francis Lawrence. It's a prequel, and it's going to follow a young Coriolanus Snow, which was originally played by Donald Sutherland, and it's about his involvement in the Hunger Games and the... Sorry, I just bored myself even reading it.
Hunger Games 1 is interesting because it's a concept. It's a very interesting, violent, gripping, leads up to the big battle. Your third act is your battle. Very, very engaging. The second one is the same, but bigger. And they said, it's a quarter quell, conveniently. And as soon as that franchise, I've not read the books, I've just watched the films. As soon as that departed from the Hunger Games, it was so boring.
Yeah.
I was when those films were out, I was like, yeah, I'll watch Hunger Games 3. I want to see, I don't know anything about the story. I want to see how this ends. I was so bored. It was like almost grayscale.
Oh.
The performances looked bored. The writing was bored. I couldn't even finish part 2. It was so boring.
Well,
how does it end?
And obviously, there are lots of other bigger films like Mission Impossible 7, blah, blah, blah. But a film that we talked about towards the end of 2021. This is a film that's coming out in December 2023 this year.
Okay.
That's Wonka. Timothy Chalamet as early days Willy Wonka. Timothy Chalamet steps into the offbeat shoes of a young Willy Wonka in this origin story, which captures the budding chocolatier as he crosses paths with the Oompa Loompas. Also stars Olivia Colman, cool, Sally Hawkins, always great, Keegan-Michael Key, yay, and Rowan Atkinson, we mentioned him else.
Love that.
They round out the great cast. So it's directed, more importantly, by Paul King, who did the first 2 Paddington films, which I rewatched Paddington 2 the other day. Fantastic.
By the way, that breaks your rule of film with a talking animal that is good. Because you said there are no good films with talking animals, and that one is.
Yes. Do you know, I think it's more...
It's the only one. It's probably okay.
I think it's more films that have... where, like, someone learns to commune with animals. Or, like, where there's, like...
oh my God, I can hear you talk.
Yeah. I mean,
Dr. Dolittle.
Or Zookeeper with Kevin James. You're right. Talking animals
it does break the rule, but it's a really fantastic.
What a great exception.
Yeah.
I mean, Paddington 2, it's sublime. Frankly, just absolutely sublime.
People overhyped it so much, but that did not stop me. I was like, okay, how good can this be?
Oh, Lucy.
Absolutely. Uncle Pastuzo.
So that is a very, very what am I trying to say? Handbrake turn, screeching run through.
You got Oppenheimer. We've
mentioned Barbie, all that stuff. But this is the films we haven't mentioned. So that is some interesting ones there. James, of all the ones I've mentioned, do you have one in particular that you're...
Killers of the Flower Moon, I think.
Yes,
I know so little about it, but that's going to be really cool.
I would say that or actually Ari Aster's one, purely because I just don't know what I'm going to get.
Do you know what I'm even more excited about? The film that's not on this list, that we've not even mentioned, that's not on our radar, that I'm going to hopefully really love by the end of this year.
I know what you mean. The one that we have no idea that it's coming out. Yeah. By the end of the year, we'll be going, oh my God, that film that came out.
People just start saying, oh, you need to see this film. I'm like, what's that? And then it just comes and it happens and it's fantastic.
So there you are, guys. That is a very sort of quick discursive look at the films that are coming out this year. What are you excited to see? What are you... is there any big films that we've missed? I mean, we have talked about other ones in previous episodes. We couldn't do them all today. But yeah, let us know what films for 2023, this year, that you are most interested to see.
And I hope you're looking forward to, in between every one of those films you see, there'll be a Marvel film.
And a blockbuster
TV show.
And a TV show, yeah, exactly. As ever, write into hello@popkitchenpodcast.com and that'd be great. Anyway, James, those are the films that are coming out this year, but you've already seen a couple of films over the Christmas break.
Yeah, just finished my year with a couple of other ones. The first one I saw, which by the time people are listening to this will be, a couple of months old, but it is Antoine Fuqua's new film, Emancipation, starring, controversially, Will Smith. This film was shot before the Oscars last year. Right? And it was very quickly sort of put on ice and it's now been put out. It's an Apple TV Plus original. And I think there is this little bit of I've seen Will Smith in the week it was sort of coming out, did a couple of late night shows where he's promoting the film, but he's also doing his first bit of official promo for a film since that. And I think your feelings about watching Will Smith on screen again is probably quite mixed, and I think it's going to be different from person to person. Yeah. I kind of had this sense of, all right, go on then. Like, it was sort of a bit weird for me, but it's worth mentioning this film's kind of been put on ice, and it's his first one coming back. Emancipation is set in 1860s Louisiana. And Will Smith plays Peter, a Haitian slave who is working on a cotton plantation in Louisiana. And very early on in the film, he gets separated from his family and he swears that he will find them and get them back. And in the meantime, he's taken to do labor on a railroad track. and Stephen Ogg and Ben Foster play some of the people in charge of making sure that the slaves are, building this railroad. And at this moment in time, Abraham Lincoln has declared that all those who were previously considered slaves are now free men. And you've got this idea that this news, obviously in the 1860s, is spread very slowly across the United States of America. And Will Smith overhears Stephen Ogg's character saying that, "Oh, did you guys hear Abraham Lincoln has declared slaves free?" Not that they care, right? You building the railroad. With that news, Will Smith, through certain events in the plot and a whole big explosion, sorry, someone just screamed outside, manages to run away. And he needs to run away to a Lincoln-freed state where slaves are acknowledged as free men. But what is in between him and freedom? 5 days traveling through a swamp of Louisiana. Ben Foster plays a very ominous and villainous slave catcher. He sort of glares at them as they're across, and he has this way of whistling with dogs, and he gets them to fetch, and he sort of has this implied layer of depth, which I don't think is really there. And he says things to Will Smith's character saying, "I'm your god, you are my dog, you will beg for me." And this film really feels like it's in that brand of we really want to be considered as an Oscar film. It is almost black and white. It's like barely got color, and it's almost slightly sepia, like an old piece of parchment, aged piece of parchment, or an old photograph from the 1800s would be. And I found I had the mixed feelings about that. I thought, I get what you're trying to do. You're trying to almost like show me that how could there be any beauty in slavery and what it's depicting on screen, but it's also got this very sort of, I can see all the pores in everyone's faces, the scars in the skin, and I just felt it was a little bit drab and a little bit lifeless, which I know is a weird thing to say when it comes to depicting slavery, but I just didn't really find it that compelling to watch.
Is it like your thing about not wanting to talk, not seeing, having scenes of people in dark rooms talking, like that kind of?
No, not necessarily. I just found it quite uncompelling to look at. I weirdly found there were sort of certain choices with the cinematography where it was sweeping through cotton fields and going high above the forest and moving through people over their shoulder, and I thought it was a little bit at odds with its tone. I thought, can we not just keep the camera still for this? I actually thought, don't move around so much. As I said, it really wants to be an Oscar film. There are moments where I think it really goes, this is the big scene, this is the big monologue, we really want to make you feel here, and it never really quite connected with me. There is a sense that this is going for the category of Oscar that I think The Revenant went for, where if you swap out the 1860s Louisiana for 1820s New Frontier, you take out a giant bear attack for a giant alligator attack, which does happen in this, and gritty survival, hiding underneath the swamps and masking your scent from the dogs. Not so much dialogue, but a lot of struggling, grunting, climbing up a tree to get the honey from wasps and being stung, and all of that survival element of it, of running away, felt like it was slightly detached from the message of slaves being liberated very slowly across America in that time. And I think by the time I got to the end of it, I realized that it hadn't connected with me that much. Will Smith is decent in it. I think it's a role which I think he takes on very well. You can tell he really believes in what he's doing on screen. I found that the directing of it and what it's trying to do with its story slightly separate from how I eventually felt about it. And I was a little bit, I don't think I'm going to think on it much more.
Okay. Well, I know what you're saying. It sounds like it's almost got like a kind of, it's got a wider, very interesting historical part to it, but then it's kind of like bolted to a kind of a B movie, like assault course kind of plot, which seems a shame. How long is it?
It's 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Okay. So, I mean, I think it could be worth a watch. I mean, Will Smith is a good actor regardless of what happened back, last year.
And what people will know who are familiar with the story is that after the events of the film, Peter is photographed by a war photographer, and they do this very famous photo, which is of his back, which is completely covered in the scars of having been whipped, and it's called The Scourged Back, and it's one of the photos of slavery that traveled through the Americas that acted as this like huge turning point for understanding the horrors of slavery, changing the minds of many of the public, and it's that idea that we're telling the story, bringing it to screen, and there's sort of a moment in the film where that photo, the moment he's shown how they did that photo, and I thought that was quite good, but ultimately just didn't really connect with it. And it's interesting, you bring up a subject like slavery, and I think there are so many ways to really engage your audience. And, they really tried to make a villain out of Ben Foster's character. And there's one scene where it tries to sort of really give that character an extra level of depth, which I don't really think is there. So I'm not really that interested in this person who's like lots of grimacing and lots of menacing, like there's some motive for why they are believing the things that they believe, but it just didn't, it felt very one-dimensional.
And also when you're talking about this, the kind of approach to colour in it, it's, the thing is like, take a film like 12 Years a Slave, which I know it seems like a very obvious example to compare it to, but it's like with the cinematography in that, which is really beautiful, it's not, it was almost like saying there is beauty in the world, it's just out of the reach of Solomon Northup. That's one thing that's very striking. And you have the kind of, just thinking about all those sort of different shots, and like you have the beauty. There's I suppose that bit in 12 Years a Slave where Solomon's walking through the woods. You've got these beautiful hanging, the real like dynamic hanging trees of the forest. Then he comes across a lynching, and it's like this sudden switch.
It's very easy in your film to have your sad scene set when it's raining, and your ominous, foreboding scene set during thunder, and your very happy scene set in the sun. But there's something more, there's something more disciplined about having something that's absolutely horrifying to watch happening on a bright, sunny, blue sky day. I think the cinematography, it was just more of a stylistic choice for me. I thought, I don't really fancy this. I'm not really enjoying the way it looks. But there you go, Emancipation. Interested to hear if anyone else has seen it. Yeah, if you'd want to, please write into hello@popkitchenpodcast.com and let us know what you thought.
And you've seen another film, James, haven't you? We just talked about Nicholas Hoult earlier. So you've seen The Menu?
Yeah, The Menu. It's one of those films which I sort of was interested in seeing. It was sort of wrapping up the films I need to get to for the end of the year. Went to the cinema to go and see it with my mum. And
hello, Mum.
This was The Menu, which is directed by Mark Mylod, who is a Game of Thrones and Succession writer alumni. And when you sort of know a bit more about the plot, makes a lot of sense. It's another satirization of the ultra-wealthy. I can't tell if I'm starting to get a little bit tired of them, because
White Lotus, Triangle of Sadness, Glass
White
Onion,
Lotus,
Succession,
even to extent The Crown. And there's a lot of that brand of satire going around, which, I can't blame, considering the way in which the ultra-wealthy have never been more wealthy than, there's that. So The Menu is all about a group of very wealthy individuals going to experience the food of a 3 Michelin star chef called Chef Slowick, who's played by the very menacing Ralph Fiennes. It's probably his... Rafe Fiennes, thank you. Played by the very menacing Rafe Fiennes, who's playing probably the most menacing role I've seen him in, considering he's done Voldemort and a Nazi. That's almost quite impressive. He's really menacing. And... this is a restaurant called Hawthorne, which is not just on its own secluded thing, it's on its own island. You have to get a boat out to go there. It is $12.50 a head. And on this little boat, which are heading towards Hawthorne, is a character played by Nicholas Hoult, who's like a huge wannabe foodie. He just adores everything this man has ever done, everything he's ever said. And he's brought on his new girlfriend called Margot, played by Anya Taylor-Joy, who almost acts as the very blank, a frame for the audience. She's like, who is this? What are we doing? Why is it so special? You've got 3 finance bros who their boss is the person who funds Hawthorne and this restaurant. You've got an old couple who have been many times before to Hawthorne. You've got John Leguizamo playing a sort of slightly washed up actor who wants to do a Netflix show about food but needs to prove that he has a good palate, so is like taken his assistant to this all-inclusive resort. And so they turn up on the island and someone's there to greet them, and they know everyone by their first and last name. Every chef in the kitchen knows exactly who that everyone is, and you get this sense that every single part of this experience has been specifically tailored to each individual person. And I'll twist one of the things that happens, that Anya Taylor-Joy was not meant to be on this journey. Nicholas Hoult was going to take his ex-girlfriend, but they broke up. So he instead brought Anya Taylor-Joy. And it's a very awkward moment when they turn up and the woman calls her by the wrong name and realizes that actually there's been a sort of supplement. Eventually they meet this, or they go around and they see like there's someone fishing for the scallops in the water, and here's the meat which is aged to perfection. Everything's grown on the island, served on the island. And you get to meet Rafe Fiennes in this immaculate kitchen, all with copper pots and his chefs, that every time he says something, they go, "Yes, chef!" And it's immediately... apparent that he has sort of like a sharp discipline. And every time a course is about to be served, he does this.
A bit like you do when you roll
when I sync clap, and all the chefs immediately stand to attention, and you get these breakups of the film by each course, and it starts with an amuse-bouche, and then there's a second course, third course, and aperitif, blah blah blah, and you get the sense that the character of Chef Slowik is slightly, disgusted by the fact that his quality of his foods has reached such a level that only the jaded and ultra wealthy can experience it. And he is looking to make a very distinct point with what he's serving to these people about the fact that they are wealthy and ignorant and greedy and jealous. And there's also 2 food critics who are there as well, who are both have long-term relationships with the chef, and both of them are both like just going back and forth with sound bites about, yes, well, it's very this, and they're both sort of like trying to reaffirm each other's views the whole time. And I'm not going to say too much about the courses because each course kind of builds, but there's this sense that you never know whether or not something that's happening is actually happening and someone's being hurt or someone's doing this, or whether or not it's all part of the culinary experience. For example, there's one moment where he serves a taco course, and printed on the taco sheets for each individual person is like a burn-in of something different. So for the finance bros, it is their detailed spreadsheets of the accounts that they've fudged and the invoices that they falsified. For the old married couple, it's the husband at dinner with another woman photographed and like there's all of these different things that people are realizing like this is a very deeply personal and exposing experience. But you're like, is he actually going to kill us all? Is this part of it? And there's a course where he serves a bread course with little dips, but he doesn't serve any bread. It's just the dips. And it's just this idea that, it is a parable about classism. It is about exploiting capitalism. And it is about how art can be commodified into nothingness. And sometimes the most outrageous thing to do when people are paying for everything is to give them nothing. I think that's all I want to say, because what the courses are, I think, goes
Does it work?
I think the film rushes to get into the courses, if that makes sense. And I think by course 2, I was already like, holy shit, we're going here. I think I would have loved it to have done a little bit less. I like the idea. I like the concept. Like each course gets more and more extreme and the point it's trying to make, and the chef has clearly got a direction of what he wants to do. Everyone's equally horrible and kind of interesting to watch. Very Succession, very... again, it's drawing from a lot of different things. I do feel like I've kind of seen this before. From the middle, it was just a bit everywhere all at once. No pun intended. And by the end, I was like, yeah, it's a nice ending. I like that. But I think it's overall an enjoyable watch for a nice, quiet time at home.
So an interesting premise.
Lots of great ideas in there.
An interesting premise, lots of good ideas, slightly fumbled perhaps, but it sort of gets away with it by the end.
It almost has a Glass Onion feel to it, but no way near as sharp and clear as Knives Out. Glass Onion, you go, I know exactly what this thing is trying to do. Yeah. With this, the menu, I could, if I wanted to, go in and really try and draw meaning from lots of things, but I'm not sure I'm interested enough to do so.
Yeah. Okay.
So there you go. That was my impressions on the menu. If you've seen it, please write in and let us know what you thought, and we will read them out on the show. George, another week goes by, which means another week of our letterbox being filled with emails from our audience. As always, if you wanted to send us an email into the show, you can do by emailing into hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.
And just to reiterate, like we said, people may have sent in some other emails, but because we are recording this at the tail end of 2022, we might not have got your email just yet, but obviously stay tuned in future episodes and we'll get there.
And sometimes we save them for future episodes. So if you send one in, you might not get it read out for a couple of episodes, but we are recording this for the future. This first one is from Sam, who writes into hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. He says, hello. After watching just one of the best World Cup games ever, what are your favourite sport movies, brackets football films? For me, loads come to mind, such as Bend It Like Beckham, great, Escape to Victory, the Goal Trilogy, brackets not the third one, The Damned United, and of course, one of my favourite comedies of all time, Mike Bassett, England Manager. It would be interesting to know what your favourite ones are. Also, I'd like to say how much I enjoy the pod. I'm always telling people how good you guys are, and on a cold day, when I'm walking home from work, listening to you makes me feel like I'm in a warm pub speaking to my friends about films. Hope you both have an amazing Christmas and New Year, from Sam. That's very sweet.
That's very kind. Thank you so much. That's a really lovely thing. Sports. Well, first of all, yes, this is going to be completely out of date when we bring it up. But the World Cup final was fantastic. What a brilliant thing. Sports movies. I don't watch a lot of sports movies. The Damned United, I've only seen once. But I do remember really enjoying that.
Bender Beckham's fantastic.
Yep. Let's go through the sports.
The goal films I have not thought about
These are
since I watched them. Yeah, I've seen
any rugby ones.
I've seen 1 and 2. There's the one with Morgan Freeman and Matt Damon.
Oh, Invictus.
Yes.
That's quite good.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's all right.
That's all
the
right.
Clint Eastwood one. Okay.
That's rugby, but what's up?
There's a couple of baseball films, I'm sure.
There's F1 film Rush with
That's okay.
What's face?
Chris Hemsworth.
Yes,
Daniel
and
Bruhl.
the other Daniel Bruhl.
Also, Senna. Documentary.
Senna I've not seen, but I really need to see
God,
Senna.
Asif Kamadi's film.
It's great.
Great. What else is there? Baseball's probably got League of Their Own. Oh, Any Given Sunday for the American football. Hey, if you want a really good American football one, watch OJ Made in America, which starts off as a sports film, then becomes a crime thriller, and then becomes a legal thriller.
Sports are a great framing for a film. The Adam Sandler Longest Yard. Have you seen that?
Or Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore, yeah.
There you go. We've named a few, but it's clear that James and I do not watch a lot of sports ones. But there's a
I wonder if Goal 1 holds up.
Never seen it, and yeah, I'm all right.
This next one's from Douglas. He says, "Hi lads, hope you're both well. It's my second time writing in, friend of the show, and I want to say again, what a great job you guys do.
Well,
I remember sitting in my car listening to an episode for the first time while waiting for my wife to finish work, playing along with the Castlist game.
Hey.
More than important that I say sirens on our end when they're here.
Yes,
I don't want our audience just be pulling over. Then I caught up with the whole backlog catalogue to the point where Then I caught up with the whole back catalogue to the point where I was one of the many who had Pulp Kitchen as my top podcast on Spotify Wrap 2022.
Thank you.
As the year comes to an end, a lot of the films you have recently discussed are now making their way to streaming services. However, I've noticed it being a lot quicker in some cases. Amsterdam appeared on Disney Plus the other week, and it didn't seem long ago you guys were at the premiere. Follow at pulpkitchenpodcast.com.
What a time that was.
Yeah. After listening to you talk about Barbarian, I looked at local listings to see very few showings I could make. But literally a few days later, it too is on Disney Plus. See How They Run is also there with Banshees of Inisherin due on by the time your next episode is out. It is out now. Do you think the window from theatrical release to streaming is too short and will impact people's decision whether to pay to see a film at the cinema for the sake of a few weeks to watch at home? Even with cinema ticket prices reduced since COVID, as you said a few weeks ago, Marvel, of course, also have their reported 45-day window. And by my calculation, that could mean Black Panther Wakanda Forever might get a festive January 1st release on Disney Plus for everyone to watch on their shiny new Christmas presents.
Well, people will know by now if it's out.
So what do you think about that? Is it too short?
The thing is, I think it's worth saying that these decisions about the release date windows are made by industry experts who have probably access to much more detail than you and I would. But as a consumer, I would say, I know your point, which is that
I think so.
On the one hand, it's like, you think they are going to...
I think it's too short.
You think they should be longer?
I think it kills the... If
you know that it's coming out on streaming, you think, why bother?
I'd be like, yeah, 3... If I can catch it in 5 weeks... I'd go, just leave it.
But on the flip side,
they might be thinking, they might be like that film and you miss it.
But on the flip side, they might say, well, we've created this buzz, this initial marketing window where it's in people's mind. If we bring it out a month later on a streaming platform, it's still going to be in people's heads. It's still going to be a valuable product. Whereas if you wait 3 months, it's not going to be as impactful. Selfishly as a consumer, it's great to be like, oh great, that film's already on there. I'm going to watch it. But I know what you mean. Those sort of release date windows have been there for a long time. You know, way back when it used to be your film would come out and then it wouldn't be allowed to be released on DVD or rental for a set amount of time. It was just like an agreed amount of time.
Yeah. I think what it does is it means that the only reason to go and see a film in cinema, if you're being very cynical, is not to be part of the conversation. It's because it's only because I want to see it on the big screen. So it really drives those like special effects driven large format films to be seen in cinemas. Whereas comedies and things like that, you can go, I'll just get it in 5 weeks. And it's less of like, you need to create this sense of urgency to see it. If we think of like a successful comedy like The Hangover 1, right? There was almost the sense that if you hadn't seen it, you missed out. You weren't getting the jokes. Do you remember that bit? Whereas if it's going to be out in a month anyway, it's almost like you're going to have seen it. So I think, not that I have any data to back it up, I would go, no, like protect, like go, if you want to see it and like be a part and listen to the podcast and be part of the discussion, it's not going to be out on your TV for 6 months.
All I will say,
Because obviously technologically they can just put it
though, as well, is films like Amsterdam, See How They Run, Barbarian, and even The Banshees of Inisherin are smaller films
Yeah.
that, it's not like with Black Panther, I don't know. I just, I think you're right. I think it needs to exist. If you know it can come out on streaming tomorrow, then you're not going to go.
That's why it's not day and date. It could be day and date. It could literally be, and sometimes it is. What was it? Luca was day and date or something like that. Is that straight to Disney Plus?
I hope we've sort of answered your question there, Douglas.
We don't know.
Yes, because I feel completely unqualified that an industry expert should answer that.
Question 2 from Douglas. On that subject, the last time I wrote in was talking about Marvel and how they seem to be running their cinematic universe just like the comic side of things.
Oh, yes.
It now seems Warner Brothers are following suit to an extreme extent with another DC reboot on the way, much like they do every few years with their own comic storylines, New 52, Rebirth, etc. What do you make of James Gunn's reported plans so far and how it's being handled, especially with Henry Cavill announcing he won't be The Witcher to return as Superman, then having to U-turn after discussions with Gunn? It all seems very public too, a bit like Elon Musk on Twitter himself, compared to Kevin Feige's secrecy and calculated convention appearances. Hope you guys have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Can't wait to see what 2023 brings, and I hope Santa is good to all of the listeners by making the Before trilogy available on a streaming service for your big discussion episode. All the best, Douglas from Glasgow. Right, George, address the Before elephant in the room.
Oh, well, the Before, we did say we were going to do a rewatch episode, and due to the...
I've not had time.
Yes, James has watched one of them, but he needs to watch all of them.
Going to watch them. It'll happen in January, I want to say.
It
It's
will
coming
happen at some point, and the longer we leave it, the more time we give people to watch it. It will come out.
Good Christmas
and we'll
homework.
do it properly. We don't want to rush it. I don't want James to be like, oh, I mainlined it on the plane back, okay?
And then about how James Gunn is handling...
Well, we talked a little bit about that before,
about
how public it is and how messy it is. Superman was back, then he's
speculation
not back.
about why. Rumors.
In a way, it's like I'm very, very dismissively. I'm just like, I'll just see when the film comes out, quite frankly. Because there was a very good TikTok video that was going around about the challenges that James Gunn's facing about, like, oh, you've got this franchise and you've got this franchise. Oh, by the way, you've got a separate, unconnected Batman movie. By the way, you've got 2 Jokers happening.
You can't do anything related to Aquaman or Wonder Woman, and we don't even know if you can talk about Ezra Miller yet. But there is this thing, and you need to do that.
So it's all very tangled up. I will just, in a way, I'm going to take a step back and I will take them on a film-by-film basis. So like Shazam! Fury of the Gods, I know it's kind of outdated now. It's not part of James Gunn's vision. Probably not. The next The Batman movie from Matt Reeves, yes, sign me up. The next Joker, I will go see it.
Yeah.
So,
I think clearly, in my eyes, what has happened is James Gunn has been offered the role of choreographing the next output of DC. He's turned up on day one and he's gone, great, I have some ideas. And everyone's gone, hang on, we do have this in the works. There's this, Joker 2, blah, blah, blah. And I think he's just had to go, do you know what? This is too much. Do what I think we all want. Refresh, reboot the whole thing. He's like the professor on the blackboard and he's just pulling down that new slate. He's wiping everything off and going, okay.
Forget what you know about DC.
Yes. And he's just going to go, Superman, great. I'm going to do a new one. Sorry, Henry, there's just too much baggage. There's too many stories. You've got your own Batman. I've got this Batman. I've got this one. I can't touch that. No. Yeah. He's clearly just going to go, do I have permission to completely refresh this entire thing and start from zero? And I think that is probably the best thing that could happen to DC because they're not going to stop.
A completely messy decade for DC.
What? Yeah, just rushed.
So we've just gone into 2023. So 2012 was...
2013.
No, 2012 was when The Dark Knight Rises ends. That's one era of DC over. Then Man of Steel happens. And I do think that when they made Man of Steel, they weren't yet planning necessarily interconnected universes. I think it's when... about maybe around the time
Age of Ultron came out when?
I don't know, 2015. I think. Yeah, okay. I think after Man of Steel came out, they were like, "Look,
Avengers was 2012.
By the time that Man of Steel came out, yes, you're right. After Avengers, they were like, "Look, we need to maybe now mash this into an interconnected universe." And we've had 10 years of, I don't think that. I mean, 1 to 2 good DC films, and then now they're like, "Okay, guys."
DCU films, I'd say.
DCU films, thank you. And then and now reset. So yes,
start again.
Cleanser, start again. But then keep the Batman.
So exhausted from starting all over again.
God. There you go.
Douglas, thank you as always for writing in the show. This last one is from Josie, who says, "Hi, PULP Kitchen. Thank you for making this podcast. It has become the highlight of my week. Also, I can't imagine how much work it takes to produce an episode every single week with this high quality of production and all on your own. So thank you very much."
I will say, Josie, that's very kind of you to say because we are recording this at the end of 2022, and James and I can both admit we're
knackered.
exhausted. Absolutely exhausted from plate spinning 2 different lives.
Watching Emancipation in the menu for content.
And then doing a full day's work.
At straws.
And I will go to work some days and people will be like, as people do, casually talking about movies.
Yeah.
Oh, what did you think about this movie, George? And I think, I can't. I can't give you my opinion because I've just
someone
given
having
it
a
delivered.
conversation that I've had with you ad nauseum. I'm like, I already know everything to say about this. Not
Just stay
arrogantly, I'm
quiet
like,
and eat my lunch.
Just had this conversation.
Thank you, Jason. Very
It's
kind of you to say.
thank you
Sorry,
for the appreciation.
What was the question?
My question is, have you always been able to analyse what you liked and disliked and what was objectively good in a film? Or is it a skill that you developed over time? It's very kind of you.
Skill? Well, that's very kind.
If so, when and how did you develop the skill, as I'm fairly new to my interest in film and struggle to come out of watching one with something to say about it that isn't just a black and white response on whether I enjoyed it or not. Merry Christmas from Josie, long-term listener, and discover the podcast from what shall not be named again.
Well, we would never ever emphasize or stress that it's a skill or anything that we've picked up. Very kind of you to say.
Very kind.
But to reframe that, if you're asking how to always get more out of watching a film and how to really sort of, if you want to have develop a nuanced opinion, or you come out of a film and you feel a certain way, but you want to really hone in on why, then there are things you can do. I mean,
Podcast is a great one.
Podcast is good, but also discussing it with who you've seen it with, and really honing in on what doesn't work. I remember very early on learning that bad dialogue often equals bad acting.
Yeah.
So I realized that people often will fall short and just blame the actors, but I realized a bad script is the connective tissue behind all of that. This stuff doesn't come out in a vacuum. James and I, for years, as many other people have, engaged with film criticism, engaged in debates around it.
I used
to go pub with friends, go cinema with friends, talk about it. I used to read Empire magazine, and then, or if it doesn't matter if it's Empire magazine or Little White Lies or Sight and Sound, or it's a podcast like this. Just develop it and really always think about. I think that's the thing, because in a way that this podcast has got us in the habit of, so I'll come out of something. And I'll just think, okay, how did I feel about that, and why? But why do I feel that way? So if you were bummed out, really think about why that was. Was it because, it was slow? Okay, and why was it slow? Well, I thought it, and where was it slow? Well, I thought it dragged here. Just always continue to be curious. And
the more
ask
you
yourself
see,
questions.
the more you'll be like, well, that film was able to do that better.
Yes.
And I've seen that done before.
Where
smarter,
have you seen
more efficient.
that film done better before? What would you have preferred? And what has that director done better? Just all of those things, and it will set you on.
And even though you're being very kind and saying that it's like a skill that we have, I think if you ask me and George, we would say that we're both always trying to sound clearer, better, more knowledgeable. And it is one of those things that's like, the more you do it, the more confident you feel talking. And if I went back to earlier episodes of this podcast, I would be cringing at the way in which I feel like I talk about a film. Also, and I still don't think I can always try to communicate an idea clearer and better.
Also, you and I still see stuff and go, I have no thoughts about this.
Yeah, there's oftentimes we've seen something and go, well, I don't going to force a take from nowhere because I don't think it's interesting enough for people to hear, so therefore we don't cover it.
Exactly.
And we're never going to try and see stuff that we're really not interested in. I think there's a line where we'll see stuff that I think provides value to you and hopefully to us, but we can't, sit down and just watch stuff for the sake of it. If it's not going to interest us, it probably won't interest you.
Hope that answers your question.
Yeah. That's all the emails we got this week. Thank you, Josie, for that last one. If you wanted to write an email into the show, as always, you can email hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com and we will read them out on a future episode. Thank you very much. Okay, George, it's the first episode of the new year, and I thought I would start us off with one of our favourites, both between us and on social media. It is Castlist Countdown.
Oh, very good. Okay.
This game, as our old listeners will know, but our new listeners might not know, is I am going to read the cast of a film from the order of least relevant to primary cast member. And George has to guess what film I'm talking about before I get to the end of that list for reasons. Right? I will leave a sort of 3 to 4 second break between each name, and George has to shout out the film that it is. You can play along at home, in your car, in the bath, in the shower, doing
Wherever
your
you
homework.
want.
Wherever you are, just scream, Tropic Thunder! In Bruges! And people will come over and ask you what podcast you're listening to.
Yeah.
And you'll say. So, George, are you ready?
I'm ready.
I think I've
Let's do
got
it.
7 rounds for you today.
Oh, but crikey. Well,
I've done an effort for
what
the
a
show.
time to be alive.
It's New Year, we're trying hard.
Okay.
Film 1. You have to guess the film based on its cast in 3, 2, 1. Reg E. Cathy.
Okay.
Tim Blake Nelson.
Great actor.
Toby Kebbell.
Great actor.
Kate Mara.
Another good actor. Oh.
Jamie Bell.
Okay.
Michael B. Jordan.
Oh, okay. So hang on. If it's Mike,
Last one.
okay. So no, that is Fan Forstick.
Yes.
Fantastic Four
Van
from
Forstick.
2015.
Last one was Miles Teller.
Yeah, God, that is the only good thing to come out of that movie. Is that is where Jamie Bell and Kate Mara met.
But what a cast. You would kill
Yeah.
for that cast.
Now, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Toby Kebbell, Kate Mara, Jamie Bell, Michael B. Jordan, Miles Teller.
I know.
That was round one.
Shame about the movie.
I know. What a movie of two halves. We've covered it. On the show. Next round. George, you have to guess the film based on its cast. Ready? Is that what we do? Based on its cast? Yeah. George, you have to guess the film based on its cast.
Okay.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. Courtney B. Vance.
Great actor.
Michael Gladys. J.K. Simmons. Lee Byung-hun. Jason Clarke.
Good actor.
Jai Courtney. Amelia Clarke.
This is another shite film from
Arnold
2015.
Schwarzenegger.
This is Terminator Genesis. I mean,
Yes.
that is that's a real stinker. My God, Matt Smith could also been in that
Oh,
list.
Matt Smith. Where did I put? Oh, Matt Smith is in there. Sorry. I should have
Oh,
put Matt Smith in
yeah.
there.
My goodness. Wow.
Okay, George. You have to guess the film based on its cast. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Courtney B. Vance.
Great actor.
Michael Gladys. J.K. Simmons.
Right.
Lee Byung-hun. Jason Clarke.
It's not like,
Matt Smith.
Matt Smith. Not more.
Jai Courtney.
Jai Courtney and Jason
Amelia
Clarke.
Clarke.
Oh, this is the Terminator
Arnold
Genesis.
Schwarzenegger.
Terminator
Yes.
Genesis.
Yeah, I've
What
not
a
seen it.
Stinker.
I've not. Did you watch it?
I watched some of it. And that's
Some,
told
and
you
then you
everything.
didn't make it. Yeah.
Good Lord.
They since what did they do? They did Dark something after that.
Dark Fate.
Yeah, it's such a generic title. That could be for anything.
Yeah, anything
Dark
anything
Fate.
is Dark Fate.
Yeah, there's a Dark Fate everywhere. Okay, next film.
Okay.
You have to guess the film based on its cast. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Catherine Waterston.
Okay.
Michael Stuhlbarg. Pulp Kitchen favourite.
Good cast.
Jeff Daniels. Seth Rogen.
Oh my God. What a
Kate Winslet.
Steve Jobs.
And then last one
yes.
is Michael Fassbender.
Very good film, yes.
Another great cast.
Another stellar cast.
Massively underrated film
Love
as well.
the mixture of comedy and dramatic actors.
Oh
in
yeah,
there.
I keep meaning to rewatch it and just sorry.
Sorry, no. Catherine Waterston, is she his wife, his ex-wife?
She's something. I can't remember
She's
what she
something.
is.
Do you know who's also in that? Is Sarah Snook from.
She is in the very
Succession,
beginning. Yeah, Sarah Snook.
Did I say Snook?
Snook.
Like someone
I'd say
snuck in.
Snook, yeah.
Sarah Snook. Yeah, I would
Snuck
say
in.
Snook. Yeah, that's an interesting surname.
very good.
Isn't it? Snook.
Snook. Yeah, I know Snook.
Do you?
I grew up with someone who was called Snook.
Keep saying it. It sounds weirder and weirder.
Snook. The Snooks are coming over. Who's that? Oh, the Snooks are going to be there.
Anyway.
All right. Okay. This is a big cast.
Okay.
And yeah, this is a big cast. I'm interested to see if you get it straight away.
Bring it
I
on.
can't remember if you've seen this film. Ready? You have to guess the film based on its cast in 3, 2, 1. Elizabeth Debicki.
Okay.
Vanessa Kirby.
Double Crown.
Martin Henderson.
Right.
Sam Worthington.
Okay. It's okay.
Emily Watson.
Stacked. This is a stacked cast.
Michael Kelly. Keira Knightley.
It's big.
Robin Wright. John Hawkes.
Great actor.
Josh Brolin.
Bloody hell.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh,
Last one.
This is Everest.
Yes.
Everest. My God. That's
Last one.
that's
Jason Clarke.
proper
Mega
sandwich
cast.
of
And I
a-
didn't even mention everyone. There are more people, but I thought I've got
no,
like
God, it's been
12
such a
in
long
there.
time since I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crikey, Robin Wright. I forgot she was in it.
She is. There's like the people at the base camp, and then you've got everyone up top.
There's Elizabeth Debicki, and Josh Brolin with his frozen hands in the water.
Oh God, yeah. That film's not as bad as you think it is.
It's not terrible, no.
No.
It's perfectly interesting. But then I think then it gets like, and you're like, oh, this is actually like a real serious, real life thing. You're like, oh, but it's kind of billed as like a big blockbuster, like towering Everest. What can go wrong?
I remember I got vertigo seeing it in cinema.
The big chasm.
With the like going over the...
What are they called?
Chasms?
Not cravat. Crevasse.
Yes, the cravat.
Yes.
Yes, that is Everest.
Wow. So... Is that your last one?
No. Oh, we got more.
We've
got more. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 more.
Am I...
Bonus bumper game.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, this is round 5. You're doing very well. You have to guess the film based on its cast. In 3, 2, 1. Pete Davidson.
Right.
Tilda Swinton. Brie Larson. Ezra Miller. Daniel Radcliffe. LeBron James. John Cena.
This is Trainwreck.
Yes.
Wow, that really threw me.
Bill Hader and Amy Schumer
Give
were
me that
next.
from the beginning.
It's
again.
a weird one. That's why I chose it,
that's
because
good.
you've got Pete Davidson,
Yes.
Tilda Swinton,
Right.
Brie Larson.
Who's Tilda Swinton in it?
I can't remember.
I
She's
swear she's like in disguise or something.
something like that. Brie Larson, Ezra
Who's
Miller,
Brie Larson? Oh, she's the sister. Yeah, Ezra Miller.
Daniel Radcliffe.
Who's Ezra
I
Miller?
think
Oh, yeah,
for
the intern,
probably
yeah.
for a scene. LeBron James
Yes.
as LeBron James.
remember that, yeah.
John Cena.
Yes, remember that.
Being very funny in that.
That was his first like kind of comedic.
Yeah. Fully naked as well. Bill Hader and Amy Schumer.
Wow, God, that was a good one.
So it's interesting because it's weird, big car. Okay, so that was Trainwreck from 2015,
okay.
Amy Schumer film. Next one. You have to guess the film. It's round 6.
Okay.
You have to guess the film based on its cast. I hope you're doing very well at home. First one. Bobby Cannavale.
Right. Man who did everything.
Corey Stoll. Judy Greer. T.I.
T.I.
David Dastmalchian. Sorry for the bad pronunciation.
Oh. He's
Michael Pena.
This is
Michael Douglas.
This is Ant-Man.
Ant-Man 1.
Ant-Man 1.
Just Ant-Man.
Not Ant-Man and anything.
Next up was Evangeline Lilly.
Yes,
And Paul Rudd.
of course. Yeah, Bobby Cannavale. Yeah, it's weird. It's
Nice
a very
T.I.
random,
in there.
but it's a really random Bobby Cannavale role. Where he's just like the father of his ex-wife.
Yeah, he's
That's not
like
father. The new
surrogate
husband.
father of his daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Good one.
I'm trying to get some interesting people in
I
there.
see what you're doing.
Get T.I. Just throw the... It's all about diverting the brain's attention.
Get you. Well done.
Second last one. You have to guess the film based on its cast. Ready? In 3, 2, 1. Keegan-Michael Key.
Okay.
Judy Greer.
Okay.
Catherine Hahn.
Great. But...
Tim McGraw. Thomas Robinson. Hugh Laurie.
Hugh Laurie? Hugh Laurie?
Raffi Cassidy.
God, Hugh Laurie.
Britt Robertson. Last one.
Oh,
George
Tomorrowland.
Clooney, yes.
My God, not even seen
George
it.
Clooney, no.
Very forgotten film.
And a very mixed cast as
Yeah,
well.
wow.
I do not know what it's about. I know it's based on a ride.
God, yeah.
But that film exists.
Yeah,
And
wow.
George Clooney's in
But
it.
I remember it was a massive box office flop.
Yeah, it looked expensive, didn't it?
Hugh Laurie, yeah.
Hugh Laurie's
Wow.
the villain, I want to say.
Yeah, George Clooney's had a bit of a bad luck of flops.
Yeah, but like George Clooney doesn't do that much, but like he turned up in 2015 to do Tomorrowland.
Yeah, random.
Yeah.
I think they were
Last
hoping
one.
it would be the kind of...
Oh, like franchise builder.
Yeah.
The next Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yes,
yeah. Okay, last one. And I don't know if you'll get this, but I think you could get it. You
Oh,
can get it.
please,
You're very
try
good.
me, James.
Yeah. Last one. You have to guess the film based on its cast.
Okay.
In 3, 2, 1. Zoe Kravitz.
Okay.
Suki Waterhouse.
Right.
Octavia Spencer. Jai Courtney.
Again.
Kate Winslet. Naomi Watts.
Oh, hang on. Is this like... is it Divergent,
Ansel
Allegiant,
Elgort.
Insurgent?
It's Insurgent, but I'll accept either.
The franchise they never finished.
They never finished it.
So
They
after
just stopped
Ansel
making
Elgort,
it. You get Miles Teller, Theo James, and Shelley Woodley.
Theo James. White Lotus Theo James.
Yeah, that series was passable at first in a sort of, we're coming off the
Generic.
Hunger Games, kind of like, teen dystopia, fuck the man kind of thing. And then really they seem to just give up on it.
Yeah.
I mean, no,
they literally did, didn't they? Yeah.
The Maze Runner is another one of that brand.
Yeah.
It was all going after the Hunger Games sort of coattails.
And then it was just dead, yeah.
But yeah.
Because I remember the Maze Runner, somebody got, I think like Dylan O'Brien got injured.
Yes.
And then it came out in like 2 years after the bubble had burst on like the dystopian thing. It was like, the Maze Runner. And everyone was like, huh?
And you had what's the face from Game of Thrones, be like, you'll never survive the scorch.
Oh yeah, Aidan Turner. Yeah.
Aidan Turner just being that like he always had his own brand of like mysterious, grimacy, villainous type. Yeah,
good one.
But there you go. I'm sure you guessed it, but there was I want to say theme, but something that links every single one of these films. And what was it?
Well, they're all from 2015. Why were they all from 2015? What specific?
Just fancied it. I just thought we'd throw in a 2015. It's a mixed year.
One of those years that's like. It's kind of recent, but not now.
I think this time I gave you some films which are not considered the all-time greats. There are some okay films in there.
Oh, yeah, you put some stinkers in there.
But I put some stinkers in there. Because it's too obvious to do, like, the cast of Django Unchained.
Fair enough.
You know?
Yeah.
It's worth putting in. But all the films, I think, great casts.
Fantastic
Steve Jobs,
cast.
fantastic film.
All of those, great casts. I wouldn't argue with any of them. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Those were lots of games for you guys. Thank you for staying with us while we record some TikToks for our social media channel and hopefully provide you a game for our show. But hopefully you enjoyed that and you played along at home. As always, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Pulp Kitchen. Don't forget, we post new episodes of this show every single Wednesday.
And sometimes we post extra content as well, such as spoiler chats about things or in-depth discussions about stuff. Also, Instagram, TikTok, you guys know we're on there. Please follow us, please like us. And you might not be subscribed to YouTube, but please come along and subscribe and give us a like, give us a thumbs up, give us a 5-star rating.
Rate us on Spotify, all of that.
You can also review us on Spotify now, I believe. There is an option to do that.
You can comment on stuff now.
You can comment, or on Apple reviews you can as well. All of that helps us and supports us, and we really, really appreciate it.
See you next week.
Thank you.